Black World family, Breaking Brown family, and I just want to say that one of the people that I rarely, if ever, criticize is Minister Louis Farrakhan. And there is a reason for that. I rarely criticize Farrakhan because he has so many adherents who are so, sort of so militantly in his corner that is really, as far as I'm concerned, mostly a losing battle because of no matter what you say, a Nation of Islam, loving person who loves Farrakhan isn't really going to change their minds. But I saw something that came across my Facebook feed earlier today, early last night, as a matter of fact, and I had to say something. I mean, I hear Farrakhan has this justice or else thing going on. I guess it is a marketing ploy to sort of sell, Million Man March Part 2. And let me just say something, black people. You know, I understand that one of the only things that this country, that the Western dominating forces respect is wealth and violence. That's what we are. Those are the two valuable products, wealth and violence. I get that. But let me just say, when you start telling black people justice or else, you're really putting black people in a lot of danger. When you think about the National Guard, the military, the militia, these oath keepers, everyone else, you think about, what are we, 13, 14% of the population? What I am saying is that this thing Farrakhan is doing, in the sense of we need 10,000 men who would rather be dead than to continue to see their babies in the streets or whatever. I'm telling you, this is some of the most potentially damaging, race war encouraging stuff I've seen in a while. And what I'm saying is that, if you start a race war, first of all, black people, we gonna lose. There is no way around that. This is, and let's be honest, even with what's happening, black people in America are probably better off than black people in a lot of other countries. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying don't find a way to fight back. I'm saying, if Farrakhan wants to do this stuff, if Farrakhan wants to start this race war and talk about how death is preferable, to living the way we're living and all that stuff, well, he should be the first one to bust a grape in the food fight. I mean, you have the Nation of Islam behind you, which is thousands of black people, thousands of black men, and you're talking about what we should be doing. You're living out in Hyde Park. Didn't he live like around the corner from Barack Obama? And you're talking about what black people should be doing and what you expect, and 10,000 soldiers. Farrakhan, you've been around how long? You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything to kind of challenge white supremacy, and that's why you're allowed to breathe in this country. If you listen, there's a reason why every black radical who has authentically fought for black freedom in this country has been ousted. He is gone. He is no more. We have where's Asada Shakur right now? She's in Cuba in hiding. Where is Fred Hampton? Where are all the Black Panthers? If you are a serious threat to white supremacy in this country, you are not allowed to breathe freely. You are not allowed to live lavishly in Chicago, on the dollars of your Nation of Islam members. That's not allowed to happen. So this idea that because Farrakhan is calling for a race war, it is very dangerous. Let me tell you the other reason it's dangerous. Right now we have Sandra Bland. We have that case where we investigators are still looking into that case. We have Samuel Dubois, who was recently gunned down in the head, and the officer has been charged with murder. We have the other case of the young man, I think his name was Jonathan Farrell, who was gunned down while he was looking for help. That officer is also right now, the trial just started for him. So black people have a lot invested right now. We have a lot going on right now, and it only takes one person to listen to what Farrakhan has to say and go out and take out a police officer for the sympathy to change. After that, all the sympathy goes out the window. Black people are, the society at large will no longer be focusing on what's happening to black people, or on what's happening to Native Americans, or on what's happening to poor white people in terms of police officer and this police state. They'll be focusing on this white officer who got killed by a black person, and police will have the sympathy. Have you all forgotten what happened after those two NYPD cops were killed? After they were gunned down? all of the sympathy all the sympathy we had been talking about Eric Garner and all of that, and all of that sympathy went to the police officers. So this rhetoric that Farrakhan is using for this Million Man March Part 2, which will probably be as inconsequential as Million Man March Part 1, which is racially inflammatory and is dangerous. And, when I think about it, even when you look at the Million Man March that happened, when it happened, there was so much potential for greatness. There was so much potential to take a database, to kind of put these men in business to do something, to kind of use that energy. But it wasn't anything. The Million Man March was basically, and this was basically Farrakhan getting black men together to tell them to do better. Do better at what? Be better fathers. Well, part of the reason some black men aren't better fathers is because they've been locked up, or they are locked up on a bag of weed or a bag of crack or whatever. Like, so much of what Farrakhan called on in terms of black men not being good or not being the best that they could be has to do with white supremacy. It didn't have to do mostly with the moral failings of black men. That doesn't mean there aren't some black men who are deadbeat dads. That doesn't mean that. There are white men who are deadbeat dads. So does that have to do with what does that have to do with the race of people? You're pathologizing black people and saying that, black people need to do better. And that's really the reason that the white people really didn't care that they put up a small fight, but they really didn't care that the Million Man March went off without a hitch, because it was really a bunch of black men talking about how they need to do better. If you want to be black and talk about how you ain't worth shit, nobody really cares. White supremacy doesn't really care if you want to talk about it, because they believe the same thing. White supremacy also believes that you aren't worth too much, that you should do better, that you're less than, that you have moral failings, that you need to be taught, by white supremacy how to act and how to behave. So there was nothing transformational about the first Million Man March. There's going to be nothing transformational about the second Million Man March. What we need to focus on right now is building alliances. Is black people, Native Americans. There was a study that shows that the rate of Native Americans being killed by police is astronomical. It's off the charts. It actually surpasses black people. White people, poor white people without means, are actually now beginning to feel it. They're beginning to be killed by police. We need to form alliances with these people and start getting something done to push back these police unions, to fight this. And calling on black people to be soldiers and die in the face of tyranny right now, and die alone without anyone, who has our back, without any sorts of alliances, is irresponsible, especially from a man who isn't willing to do that himself. So I just want to tell everybody who's listening to Farrakhan to just be very, very careful, because anything that we plan to do or that we're trying to do to fight, white supremacy could be undone by what he is doing and by what he is saying right now. Be very, very careful who you listen to. Peace out. I'm gone.